Welcome to Medics. Today I want to talk about the gastrointestinal mucosa barrier. This is a protection that the stomach gives itself against acidic content of the stomach or against the action of enzymes. Within the gastric mucosa is made up of some certain structures that enable it to give itself this protective nature and to avoid altered digestion of its cells by this hydrochloric acid and the enzyme known as pepsin. Within the gastric mucosa barrier, it is made up of epithelial cells. These epithelial cells are the outside parts of this barrier. From the epithelial cells, there is the mucous coat. It is made up of thick alkaline mucus that try to alter the activity of acids by acting like a local buffer within the body system. It is also made up of tight junctions that prevent substances that are moving within the lumen of the GIT from going into the interior of the cell. Because unless the gastric mucosa barrier is affected or altered or disrupted before things like harmful things and microorganisms can be able to enter within the cell and be able to cause damage to the cell. The gastric mucosa barrier is sometimes altered because of some certain activities that we indulge ourselves in. For example, our eating habits. We are advised to eat warm food. We are not advised to eat food that is too hot because this can cause erosion of the epithelial cells that form this protective structure known as gastric mucosa barrier. As I earlier said, the mucosa is made up of epithelial cells that line or face the lumen, where food particles come directly in contact with this. So the food that we eat, if the food is very, very hot, it can cause the disruption of these epithelial cells by killing them. Yes, these epithelial cells have the ability to regenerate after a period of 3 to 6 cells. They are known as the regenerative cells of the GIT, also known as the stem cells. But then, too much disruption or eating of hot food can kill them before their regenerating time. This will cause harm to the gastric mucosa barrier, making you to be exposed to diseases that pass through the GIT, and then our body system will be compromised. This barrier can also be affected by hypersecretion of hydrochloric acid, which in turn plays a crucial role in activation of a pepsinogen. Hydrochloric acid is secreted within the gastric glands of the stomach, which precisely the parietal cells of the gastric glands. They secrete hydrochloric acid. So when this hydrochloric acid is secreted, the pepsinogen released from the chief cells or the peptic cells of the gastric glands are moved into the lumen. Normally, pepsinogen is a zymogen. When you talk about a zymogen, you're talking about inactive enzymes that must be activated by other factors. So hydrochloric acid is pepsinogen to active pepsin by making cleaves, that is, making some fragments on these inactive enzymes. So when hydrochloric acid is secreted by the parietal cells of the stomach, and then pepsinogen is also released from the chief cells of the stomach, it comes into the lumen and then meets this hydrochloric acid that has been secreted into the lumen, activating it. So hypersecretion of hydrochloric acid, that is too much secretion of hydrochloric acid by the parietal cells, will cause hyper activation of pepsinogen, pepsinogen to pepsin. Mind you, pepsin is an enzyme that acts on proteinous substances, making them to digest. Now, the body system, from our primary education, we have been taught that the proteins are bodybuilding foods. That means that proteins give us the body, build the cells through what is known as the central dogma of life, through which DNA is used to build the body system. So our body is made up of proteins. So this hypersecretion of hydrochloric acid that leads to activation of pepsin pepsin now acts on our body cells and then destroy them. The destruction of this gastric mucosa barrier can result into what is known as peptic ulcer. Because mind you, I'm talking about pepsin. So peptic, there are different types of ulcer. So this type of ulcer that is caused by pepsin is referred to as peptic ulcer. But before this can happen, there must be the presence of hydrochloric acid to activate pepsinogen to pepsin. There are other factors that are responsible for the cause of ulcer, and I will speak about this in my next video, such as the bacteria Helicobacter pylori, one of the major factors that cause ulcer. It is responsible for 80% of ulcers in humans, but I will speak about this in earnest or in detail in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. You stay tuned. Mind you, health is wealth. Bye bye for now, till we meet next time.